Sophia here. Guess what? This is day 12 of our trip to France. We are almost feeling right at home with a giant traffic jam going on Autobahn 13. We are on our way to the Landing Beaches of Normandy. Tomorrow we're going to do the Mont Saint-Michel, and then on our way back we'll do Lisieux. So we got 3 days packed with some sightseeing. I hope you enjoy the drive. We're gonna take the coast all the way down to Arromanches and La Pointe du Hoc. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. So we're heading towards the D-Day area. This whole area here, and you should be able to see the English Channel in about 5 minutes. This whole area here was the battleground for the Battle of Normandy. By the time these guys arrived here in this particular area, it was probably a day or two after the landing. About a quarter of the soldiers already had been wiped out on either side, whether we're talking Germany or the Allies. And all of this here was nothing but tanks and trucks and jeeps and motorcycles and troops walking in and pushing the Germans up east, because they didn't want them to move north and escape through Belgium, and they didn't want them to go down south. So what you're gonna see is a lot of little farms and hedgerows, and every single one of the farms that you're going to see along this route was either occupied by Allied troops or by German troops. So when a battalion or a group of soldiers was coming through a field and they saw a farm, they had to observe it for a while before they could determine whether or not they could go in and would be welcome in that farm, or whether they're gonna have to fight. So along the way, up until the time that they got into Paris, a lot of the movement was delayed because they never knew what they were going to find behind a hedgerow or behind the little walls that separated a farm from one another. Villages, and as the Americans and the Allied forces are walking towards Paris, all of those towns get gradually liberated, right? So as the Americans come through these towns, imagine all of the French putting the French flags and the American flags and the British flags on their windows. You got to remember, they knew there was going to be a D-Day. They weren't sure when it would be, but they knew it was going to happen within a couple of weeks. So they all started to paint the flags, make flags, and be ready for the time they would be free. So as the Americans and the British forces went through the beaches, which is about 8 miles from here, through here, every single church in this area started to ring the bells as though it was Easter Sunday, as they left the town. So it was announcing to all of the villages around that the Americans had landed, that they were arriving, and they were liberating France. I mean, think about it. In the middle of all of the chaos, the landing, the fighting, and all of that, you also have this overwhelming sense of joy and relief that these people were finally going to be free again. these are the landing beaches. It started all here. There's 2 beaches on the side here, and then the rest of it with the Pointe du Hoc is on this side. So I'm gonna go on the beach and show you a little bit. But what you can see behind me right here is the artificial harbor, also known as Churchill Harbor. This is basically the harbor they built as they landed to allow them to dock the ships, and it was also controlling the whole area so nobody could come into town as well. So they've preserved that over the years, and you'll see that they were floating concrete blocks actually, and there's a lot of them that are still remaining. We are very lucky today because it is low tide and we can see a lot of them. So I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see parts of the artificial harbor. And right there on the left is the beginning of the cliffs. Later on this afternoon, we're going to the Pointe du Hoc, where all the rangers had to climb the ladders and got basically slaughtered by the German battery that was on top of the cliffs over there. So this is basically Omaha Beach as we know it.
This is Omaha Beach.
This is Omaha Beach, yes.
1944. This is D-Day.
Hey, is that one of the landing crafts or is that a bunker?
That's part of the artificial harbor.
They sunk a bunch of ships there so that they could create a harbor out of it.
Really?
Yeah. So the working ships would dock up to that. They'd let the guys out. The guys would come out into the beach. That was after they killed all the Germans.
Wouldn't they have reinforcements?
Well, that was the reinforcement.
So this is one of the little pedestrian street that's right behind the beach. We're looking for a place to eat, okay?
Go here.
And of course, you know, they have to have a gazillion souvenir shop with, I don't know who buys a placemat for Marromanche, but there's postcards and the usual assortment of liquor shops and nice little prints, stuff that's totally unrelated to D-Day. All of these houses here were seriously damaged by bombing. Over the years they were repaired. When I was a little girl I used to come here a lot, and a lot of these houses were still missing their roof. Just saying. You know what? Brasserie looks good to me. Let's go here. So when you're in Arromanches, there's a museum right here. That's the D-Day Museum, also known as the 6th of June 1944 Museum. I used to go there when I was a little girl. It's a nice museum, but it's pretty old, so they have a lot of old displays. I'm going to insert a picture of the one in Caen, which is the Peace Memorial. This is where most of the stuff is. When I was a kid, whenever you went into the countryside, you could see little museums everywhere. There would be like hand-painted signs with an arrow indicating museum. And that was basically whoever was the local farmer who had some artifacts that he had found in his field and enough to fill 1 or 2 tables. And that was it. That was the museum. And these were the best stuff you could possibly find. But then in the 80s and beginning of the 90s, the government started taking over all of this stuff and consolidated all of it into 2 big museums. This one here, which is the Landing Museum, and the one in Caen. So if you come to Arromanches, check out this museum. I'm going to insert pictures of it as well so you can see the kind of stuff they have in there. We're not going to do the museums today because we don't really have time. We didn't come here to really do the landing beaches. I just wanted to show them to you real quick. The goal of our trip here for our 3 days is to really do the Mont Saint-Michel, Lisieux with Saint Therese Basilica. That's it. This is just an added bonus. So when you go up the street here, there's an American tank. I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see it. I'm trying to zoom in. So the problem with D-Day is that it really wasn't as well planned as you would think it was. What happened really is that we, as the Allied, overshot a lot and landed our troops in all sorts of wrong positioning on the beaches, which caused a lot more casualties than expected. One example would be, for instance, when we let the rangers parachute onto the beaches. They were about a mile or two off and landed in an area that had a big cliff, and the only way they could get to the German bunker was to actually climb the cliff. So when we get to the Pointe du Hoc, I'll tell you more about this. For the harbor itself, there was a lot of battleships that were actually behind the harbor and were shooting over the town, trying to get to the other side here where most of the German batteries were on the hill, and ended up that they were underestimating how far their cannons could reach, and they ended up shooting a lot of the town here. Not only that, they ended up shooting their own troops, so there was a lot of friendly fire. So the poor guys that landed on the beach not only had to fight the Germans that were shooting onto them, but they also had to try to avoid our own military shooting at them from the other side of the harbor. Almost at the Pointe du Hoc, but I decided to make a detour, and it was well worth it because usually the stuff is closed this time of the year. It's the Battery de Longues, and this is basically the biggest German bunker on this coast, at least. And let me tell you something. I believe, and I'm going to put a little comment down below here, you know, as a bar. I believe this battery actually had mostly thick cannons because Hitler really believed that they were going to invade on the Atlantic. So he had what was called the Atlantic Wall. So a lot of the German army had been dispersed on that side around around the Atlantic wall. So a lot of the artillery that was available here was either fake or deficient or didn't have enough manpower. So this battery, I'm pretty sure, was actually a bunch of fake cannons, but they did have soldiers here. They were just not able to do anything they could to stop the invasion coming in this way. So the land is behind us, the battery is on the other side of the camera, and it's basically overlooking the channel. So I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see it, and I can see they closed off some of the areas, but we're still going to be able to go inside one of the bunkers, I'm hoping.
Oh God, Bob, look, that's barbed wire.
All right, stand back.
Barbed wire.
Yeah, well, you can go through.
It's not gonna kill you, little guy. You can touch it.
They got barbed wire.
Yeah, so there is leftover of the artillery here. So the cannons, right, were going this way. Let me show you. Basically going this way, and then the channel is over there. And then on the other side here, there's another one. And this one appears to still have a cannon, so let's go check it out. So you can walk behind the cannon.
There's water in here.
That's all right. So this battery here, Battery de Longues, was taken by the Devonshire Regiment on June 7, 1944. So it took them 24 hours to come here and actually take over the entire battery and all its cannons. So here's the big cannon, and my understanding is that those were here not necessarily for anti-aircraft, but taking down ships on the other side. So because you see this big thing here, you can't really move your cannon up and down, it's stopping them. But I just want to show you something interesting. This is the grooving that's inside the cannon, and basically what this does is that it provides a spin. So the bullet, the big mortar shell, whatever that is, comes out of here spinning to give it even more of a force. I guess they call it centrifugal force, not sure, but anyway, so this is a big cannon. Now remember, I think that some of them were actually not operational. So here's something interesting. So the guy would sit down right here, right, and he would pretty much aim this way, but apparently it looks like a shot came straight at him and blew up, right, and this thing here used to be straight, and instead it went all curved, and you can see the holes here from the fragments of the bomb, and you can see that this was seriously straight, and now it's all curved. You see that? It's all curved, and it opened up like a can opener. Look, you can walk into a German bunker. I'm surprised they opened it. Usually it's only open once a year. So you see, that's where they kept all this stuff. Like they had more storage areas here where they would keep all the ammunition.
This is it.
That's it, I know. It's not very big. But that's what a bunker was like. So Edward, you understand they were sleeping, eating, doing everything here, right?
In here.
Well, in this particular bunker and the ones on the other side, these guys didn't have much of a choice. That's where they were stationed. We arrived at La Pointe du Hoc, and there's a reason why we picked this. There's a lot of things you can see when you come to the landing beaches. You can't see all of it in one day. So I kind of picked the things that I thought would be most interesting for the kids. If you are familiar with the Rangers, the US Rangers, you know that this was by far the most difficult battle for the Allied forces. They prepared for this for months ahead of time, and a lot of them got seriously injured while preparing and training for this operation. La Pointe du Hoc is a cliff. On top of the cliff there's a battery. There's big cannons for ships, and there are anti-aircraft cannons as well. The only way to capture this is to come from below, from the beach, and climb on top of the cliff and take over these guys. The problem that they had was that as they were climbing, they were pretty much shot from above by the German troops. So the aircrafts had to come in and shoot down those Germans at the same time that they were trying to open the way for the Rangers that were coming up. There was a lot of casualties. I'm not sure on top of my head what the number is. I'll put it right here so you can see how many people died here. But it's a very dramatic scene, because when you get to see it, you will notice the amount of craters surrounding La Pointe du Hoc. Hundreds of craters as the result of all of the bombing. And some of those bombs, of course, because at the time we didn't have the technology that we have today, landed on some of the American troops as well. So there was a lot of friendly fire as well. Bottom line is that if you come to visit the landing beaches, I suggest that you make a stop here, because this is, again, by far the most dramatic site of all of the landing beaches. You can really get a sense of how brutal the battle was and how difficult it was to do this whole overlord operation of D-Day landing and liberating of France. So this is a very special site for Americans. I just want to point out that this land was recently donated to America. So as we walk on the Pointe du Hoc, this is actually American territory. It's no longer part of France. We gave it to the US as a thank you for the sacrifice that the US Rangers did when they came here. It's pretty dramatic. So I'm going to turn the camera around and you're going to get to see what the Pointe du Hoc is all about. So as you come in from the entryway, you're already seeing a lot of craters, and all those bumps here are basically mortar and bombs, craters. You see all of those, Willie?
Yeah.
This is where all the bombs landed, okay? See that? So there's one battery here, there's another one over there, and there's one here, and I believe that there's more all the way at the end over here. So that's basically it. The site is fairly large, and all you see is pretty much Swiss cheese. Now, if you have the money and you really are into World War II and military operations, you can also take a helicopter tour. There's one actually going on right now, and you get to see the whole thing from above. If I can, I will insert a picture so you can see what the site looks like from above, because again, it is very dramatic. on our way to the hotel, which is about an hour and 48 minutes from here. And I picked a hotel that's in an old abbey. It's called the Relais du Silence. And it's supposedly very beautiful. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about for a second about the style of roads that we have here. At some point, we go through roads that are sunken into the ground with two little mounds on either side and the fields above us. These are former Roman roads. The Romans used to navigate through the area here because remember they took over France, which was named Gaul back then, as in Charles de Gaulle. And in order for them not to be seen by enemy or Gaulois, they sunken their roads so they could pass from point A to point B, and you could not see them move through at all. And they moved the cattle, they moved their horses, their carriages, their chariots, their goods, their soldiers that way. So it's not all the roads that are like this, but whenever you see a road that's sunken into the ground with the fields on both sides higher than the road, these are Roman roads. It gives you an idea how old this area is.
It's pretty.
Is it gorgeous?
It's beautiful. A real fake sheep.
Yeah. Let me see the view. This is really cute. It's adorable. Now
We need to run the air conditioner while we're...
Is it a bathtub or a shower? Oh, it's a shower. I forgot already. Okay. All right. And here are the goodies. It's super clean. Some kind of slate on the floor. It's a big room. It's a pretty room.
It is.
All right. So now we're gonna go and have dinner in a local town because we are all starving. So we'll see you in a bit. I hope you enjoyed the hotel. Bye.